Good evening, good Sunday evening. We got a little special here tonight. McMurray wants to unbox a new little game he picked up here that actually what I'm hearing about is kind of popular recently here. So I'm going to flip the screen over and let McMurray get to work on what he's got going on there. So hang in there 1 second.
So what we've got, I was going to try and do an unboxing about a week or so ago when I got this. This is the Battle of St. Louis, 1780, American Revolution in the West by the Historical Game Company. I actually picked this up locally at a museum here in St. Louis, which was pretty cool to see a board game in a museum and to be able to go and grab it and, support like that. But I was going to do an unboxing. Whatever, schedules got in the way. I said, screw it. Picked it up, pulled everything out, punched it, clipped it, played it. Quite fantastic. So we're going to have an unboxing and then a little bit of a review also. But it's not a typical unboxing and review because I've actually played the thing. But yeah, so the game, it's in a pretty standard 1-inch box. It's the label's a wrap, but it's done really well. I like it a lot, actually.
Looks like a good sturdy box.
It is, dude. It is a sturdy ass box.
Right.
Yes, that it absolutely is. It reminds me of the sturdiness of one of the bigger, thicker GMT boxes. Those are stout. Except for it's still a 1-inch box. Pretty standard stuff on the back. You got a little spiel about historical background, game pieces, all that stuff. You know exactly what you're getting. I know you guys there's some of you are going to get after me. There are cards in this game. I know usually that's a nope, that game goes back on the shelf, but I said I'm going to try it. It's a game where I can almost see my house, so give it a shot anyways. The cards we'll talk about in a minute.
Well, what's the historical background? It looks short. What is it?
So in May 1780, right, during the American Revolution, Missouri, the Missouri side of the river, was still Spanish controlled. But go figure, the Spanish were still big fans of sticking it to the Brits. So St. Louis itself was a Spanish outpost, as well as Cahokia, right over the river, was an American outpost. But so you've got a super small number, 29 Spanish regulars, and about, I think, 180 militia, as well as 60 French militia under the command of Francois Valley from down in St. Genevieve, Missouri, came up. And so you've got that many, again, 29 Spanish regulars. The 60 French militia from St. Gen were pretty outstanding. And then you've got other just citizen militia from St. Louis and the immediate surrounding area, right? Including some freedmen and all kinds of other stuff.
And
so
what year again? What year was this again?
1780.
Wow.
Yep. So the British led an expedition from Michilimackinac up in Michigan down the Mississippi to try and clear out American resistance. But the British forces were entirely trappers and Native Americans. Sioux, Fox, Sac, Winnebago, Waukesha, all kinds of, I'm sure I missed some. If the author of this game, Stephen Kling, ever sees this, I'm sure he can elaborate quite a bit. He's written several books on the topic. I'm actually trying to get a copy of the one that's specifically about Battle of St. Louis and Cahokia. But anyways, we'll get to that in a minute. He does also make another game. He makes a bunch of games, but there's another one specifically about the Battle of Cahokia, which is immediately across the Mississippi from St. Louis that is also sold out in St. Charles, and I'm going to go pick up this week and play because I had so much fun with this one. But let's get on.
You're telling me that during this is revolutionary, right?
Correct.
There were fights that far out to the west?
Correct.
Wow. What I don't know about the American Revolution.
Doug, St. Louis is awesome. Missouri is awesome. Anyways, so let's get going here. Again, the box is awesome. It's sturdy. I like it. Sorry about that was the Ziploc I had. Everything here has Wiley Games on it. But so we've got game counters. We'll look at those in a second. Comes to the die. Game cards. The game cards come bound up. Like I said, I played. Basically, what these are is the game cards tell you what you can do each turn, right? So as you're playing, the British player goes first every turn. They flip over a card. That allows them to move 6, an attack with 5, and then there's special on each of these. So here, all the Sioux units add +1 to combat this turn, right? So it's not a card game where I'm trying to hold a hand and my opponent shouldn't know what's in my hand. So there you go, guys. Since I know somebody's going to go, oh, McMurray's playing a game with cards. I am.
And go away, how many cards are there?
I believe there's 20, 10 for each.
Okay. And you just reuse them over and over?
Yeah, we'll get to that in the review section. It's actually pretty cool.
Okay. Cool.
Like I said, standard die. The counters are pretty cool, actually. The one thing that makes me angry about these counters, I forgot, I did misspeak earlier. I did not clip these counters because they're the Blue Panther counters that are really thick. And so I have one of the plastic counter clippers on the way so I can get that into my clippers. But yeah, real simple. Like you've got attack, defense, move, and then when there's that little red number there, that's the range. So they've got muskets, obviously. They can fire that far. There's the only status marker in the game is game turn marker. You can see on the back, if you disorder things, basically have units that are good, disordered, or dead. When you disorder something, you flip it. There's a French unit, so you can see that one. That's one of those French militia units. You can see that one a little better. 3 attack, 7 defense, still move 3. I'm trying to find one of the cannon units. Here's some of the – there's a couple counters for civilians outside the walls of St. Louis because historically the British allied Native Americans basically just slaughtered a shitload of civilians outside the fortifications around St. Louis. I'm trying to find – there should be some – there are artillery units, as you can see here. So you can see that range is far larger. You can't move that. There's one cavalry unit in the game. It's one of the French or one of the St. Louis militia. So there is a cavalry unit. But those are the counters. They're real nice. They don't come apart at the corners. I don't know what exactly. Sorry, you're looking at the top of my head there. I don't know what exactly is different between the corners and not, but there you are.
That's that Blue Panther thick brown stock, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Which again, they're nice counters. I'm just frustrated I can't get them in my clippers. But like I said, that's an equipment failure on my part. So nothing wrong with that. Oh, forgot the game turn marker. Game turn marker is nice because you get British and then Spanish/American if you need to stop in the middle of a turn. Now, one of my favorite parts about this game is the map. It's printed on canvas, homie.
I've got a couple games like that. That's pretty cool.
It is. It's really nice because once you get it on the table, you can lay it flat, and it lays super flat. Like, it's not bad. I got it to lay really flat. I didn't even play this game with plexiglass over top of it. But so you can see if we want to orient it north-south, we got this. So here's the Mississippi. Here is St. Louis itself. So historically, St. Louis was supposed to be, you can see where this says Fort San Carlos Tower. St. Louis was supposed to be protected by 3 to 4 of these towers, which if you're familiar with like the Napoleonic era are essentially like, think about a Martello tower, right? So it's just a tower that's 30 feet around, roughly 40 feet around, about that same height. And again, if you're familiar with, American history with, the blockhouses or whatnot, it's kind of like a stone blockhouse, something like that. Anyways, only one of those actually got constructed by the Spanish governor of St. Louis, Francisco de Leyva. But then earthworks were obviously constructed for 2 kilometers around most of, the settlement of St. Louis at that point in time. There were a couple of gun platforms. You can see one there. It's cool to see, stuff it's cool to play in essentially your hometown, right? I'm from
like
St. Louis.
Me in the Shenandoah Valley with the Civil War. Love
it. I'm born and raised in St. Louis. I've been to the site of Fort San Carlos. Shoto Pond is no longer there, but every one of these, I've essentially been everywhere that this map covers. One cool side note is there are still mounds on this map, because in 1780 there were still mounds north of downtown St. Louis, right? Just like there were still are across the river in Cahokia, but there were lots of mounds. So that is a landmark that's on here, which is pretty cool. Other than that, you've got basic stuff: Governor's Mansion, Lammy Barn. This church is now the cathedral downtown. Super cool. And there you go. So you can see kind of where your troops start. That's printed right on the map. Super duper helpful. Real easy. You start your civilians on any of these little civilian squares. Then you've got woods and fields. All right. Everything's pretty simple, which I like. But you can see where you've got British / Native American entry points. You've got spots for destroyed British and Spanish units and a turn track. There are 24 turns in this game. Again, I know there's a few of you who've watched me play games that are going, McMurray didn't play any game with 24 turns. Turns are pretty simple, easy to get through. It keeps it fast-paced. It keeps it moving. There's a good back and forth. Historically, there wasn't a major breach of the fortifications around St. Louis. The idea in this game is to get there. But anyways, more unboxing. I'm mixing the unboxing and the review at the same time. Sorry, guys. Here are the rules. Here is something that will be very familiar to those of you who are familiar with how I like to play games. We've got basic introduction, explanation of what everything is, setup, sequence of play, the meat of our rules, and then at the end you've got your terrain effects chart, and then design notes and stuff. What you will not see on here is the CRT. Kind of nifty. Combat isn't resolved using a CRT because you aren't really building up ratios. The way combat works is you've got that attack factor on your counters, and because of the small scale, one counter attacks another counter, or that counter can be supported by another counter, in which case it just adds one attack strength to the attack. So instead of being 2 for this little swivel gun unit, if it's got a unit in support, it would attack at 3. It removes the need for CRT. I know some people really don't like CRTs. Some people have trouble reading CRTs. Not Jay, for watching this. This might be a very good game because I know you don't like CRTs and you don't like figuring out the ratios. Pretty simple to play in terms of it's a pretty simple system. It's a little tricky to get to the point where you can really make inroads in causing casualties or getting the British out of getting the Spanish out of St. Louis. So it's one of those kind of easy to play, not super duper easy to understand necessarily or master, which is what I like. Big fan. I feel like at some point in time, Wardrobe and I are going to play this. Like I said, the other nice thing is he makes a number of games. A lot of them are kind of, there's a few that are Western Revolutionary War. There's a few that are, Napoleonic stuff that everybody knows about. He's got Luthen. He's got some stuff, I think, for the Great Northern War. He's got, a Yorktown game, all kinds of stuff. Any of them that are in this series or that look like they're this same sort of mechanic, I'm probably going to wind up picking up. On the nice thing, they're $35. Just a good price for a game.
I saw quite a few games on that site, actually.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. There really are. Like I said, the Attack on Cahokia game is also on sale locally here in St. Charles at the Heritage Museum. So I'm going to go grab that. Like I said,
You have a question from William Bird. Actually, I recognize Williams from a lot of posts.
What's
How far west does it go? He lived in Crave Coeur, Chesterfield, in elementary school.
Okay, yeah, not quite to Creve Court, Chesterfield. So on here you can see Shoto's Pond, right? Fort San Carlos is a block away from the Arch. Colonial St. Louis was super small. Like I said, this church right here, William, is where the old cathedral is. So that's within, one or two good baseball throws of the river next to the Arch grounds. So it probably extends to maybe the far end of Forest Park, maybe. And then up here, not even to Laclede, well, probably to Laclede's Landing, that area. Right? So we're looking at really downtown.
Well, okay, so what's the distance per hex?
I don't know if there is a set distance per hex. Just a moment here. Well,
because you said you got ranged fire, so I'm figuring it's got to be a tighter scale than.
It certainly is, because your average musket can fire 2 hexes, which I'm not sure how much he actually took the time to break down. Well, if that's 75 to 100 yards, then we got this. Yeah, I don't know. Again, so very simply, the game map is stylized to facilitate play. That's the big thing. I'm not sure if there's a hard range as much as you might find in a crunchier game. But yeah, so again, Shoto's Pond is still downtown. Well, where Shoto's Pond was, it no longer is there. But yeah, the population of St. Louis itself at this point in time is only about 1,000 people. Most of these militiamen are coming from outer areas. But yeah, so this map really only covers the north end of central downtown, right here around the Arch, because the Arch is right in this area. Would be the Arch grounds and what used to be the Jefferson Museum of Expansion. Now it's something else. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah. So it's thoroughly just downtown. We're not getting all the way up to Creve Coeur. We're certainly not even getting to 170, much less 141, like where you'd be in Chesterfield, William. But yeah. That being said, if you lived in St. Louis in elementary school, I guarantee you've set foot where this map is. I actually found a really cool superimposed photo of roughly where the let me grab my computer and see if I can pull it up. But a superimposed photo where somebody took a Google Maps image of downtown St. Louis. Oh, wow. I am all the way out of here. Sorry, guys. Where somebody took a Google Maps image of downtown St. Louis on the riverfront and added in some of these features. So actually, that'd be a really easy way to show you exactly where this stuff is at. But onto the review part, I realized we kind of, like I said, touched on it during the unboxing. Big fan. I like it quite a bit. Excuse me. I am like I said, big fan of this game. Like I said, yeah, I'm sold on the system. Certainly going to play this game again multiple times. It really doesn't take long. Once you get going, especially if you're playing solo, you can just fly through it. Each turn takes a couple minutes. And that's just an outstanding time. So here we go. I found my picture. So here you can see Shoto's Pond is right on the west side of Busch Stadium downtown. Right, so you can see where Fort San Carlos is right off of the Arch. I think it's at Walnut and 4th, maybe. And then you've got the trench / fortifications going all the way around. So if we rotate this, present-day Busch Stadium sits right about here. The Arch is down here. Right. But yeah, there's actually a creek that runs down here, but I understand why you didn't put it on there. So that should help clarify some stuff, which means 40 crosses right through here is Highway 40. So the Busch Stadium exit for 40 would be coming off right here.
This is like a tactical scale game.
It absolutely is. It
now
absolutely.
you said no CRT, so I'm really curious about fire combat.
What?
You said there's no CRT.
Correct.
How do you do fire combat if there's no CRT?
Well, like I said, you've got every counter has an attack factor,
right,
a defense factor, and a movement factor. So let's say you've got a British unit right here. It's 254. And for whatever reason, your Spanish units that were here have retreated, and these are the guys you've got. Right? So these are St. Louis militia. This St. Louis militia is going to fire out here. Right? So it's attacking on a 2. No matter what the attack factor on this supporting unit is, it only adds 1 to the strength of that attack. So it'll be attacking at 3 now. And you've got to roll a d6. And if you hit 5 or 6, then you will disorder this unit and make it retreat. So you flip it over and you move back 2 hexes. If you beat that defense factor by 2 or more, it's removed. So you don't need a CRT because everything is just based off of your attack factor, however modified that may be, against their defense factor with whatever modifiers are there. So if you meet or exceed their defense factor by 1, they're disordered and retreat. And if you beat it by 2 or more, they're removed.
And I'm sure there's things like terrain modifiers and.
Yeah, so like the Spanish attacking, if the British are, or I'm sorry, the British attacking, if the Spanish are inside these walls, they have a +2. So that makes it tricky because most of the Spanish units are defense 6. So if you really need to stack your British attacks so you can be attacking at a 3 instead of 2 because it's 6 +2 for that wall. So all of a sudden you need a 5 or a 6 just to force him back off the walls.
All right.
So it's
go ahead.
What's up?
Go ahead.
I really enjoy it. You have a really limited number of Spanish troops. So what I've found is that if I can come down, over here and push them off the wall, I can get some Indians inside of the perimeter. And then all of a sudden they don't have that monolithic +2 to their defense. And that's bad.
Right. So you mentioned civilians earlier. What purpose do they have in this game?
The British can win by eliminating 8 Spanish units. I believe it's 8. And those civilians can count as towards that if the Spanish don't prioritize and use their movement allotments to bring the civilians inside the walls.
Okay. Are there actual counters for the civilians or?
Yeah. They're these ones.
Okay. All right. So it sounds to me like your defender's objective, one of them is to get those civilians out of those little spots out there back into St. Louis. Okay.
Yes, because like I said, historically, the British Native American allies, which are the only British forces here other than some trappers, just slaughtered the piss out of any civilians they found outside the walls, livestock. They burned farms, burned crops.
Wow.
Yeah, really not nice stuff to do.
But victory conditions for the Brits?
For the Brits I can just read those straight off for you here. I know you can win. How I wound up winning on turn 20 was by eliminating 16. Or I'm sorry, for the Brits. God, I keep mixing up the Brits and British player wins an automatic victory if at any point in time a British unit occupies the governor's mansion. Also wins that if any point in time they've eliminated 8 Spanish units, which can be the fleeing citizens, and occupies at least 7 fleeing citizen hexes outside the town of St. Louis with British units. And the Spanish player wins if the British player is prevented from attaining the British victory conditions by the end of the 24th game turn, or if there are 16 or more British units in the British eliminated units box at any time. And the first player to hit one of those wins. So what I wound up doing is on, I think, turn 21, I killed my 16th British unit, which then made it a Spanish victory.
Wow. Doesn't even look like there's that many units in the baggie.
There's a bunch. 16 is most of the. I think there's only 48 counters, including the turn track counter. Let's see.
How many of the civilians were you able to get into the city?
I got none of the civilians. They immediately were swarmed.
Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of sucked.
But, so you had to go after the British with the Spanish, didn't you?
Yeah, it was 48 game pieces. Honestly, yeah, after a minute I did. But because what I was trying to do was hang the Indians back such that the Spanish would have to leave. And then I realized that if the British don't attain their victory conditions, then the Spanish win. So.
Okay, well.
Like I said, it took me a few turns, several turns, probably till turn 10 to really get the hang of getting the Spanish forced back off their walls or out. One of the things I actually really like is the random events on the cards. So like we talked about, you go through them and then you just reshuffle them and go through again, which seems like it would be repetitive. So for some things like this, none the first time the card is played. On each subsequent play, the American star units may enter play from the Mississippi River in St. Louis this turn on a roll of 1 or 2. What those units are those are units that are stationed over in Cahokia. So there's a possibility if you roll a 1 or a 2 the second or third time this card comes up, that those units will pop across the river and say hi. Oh. There's another one of those there's one of those for the British as well, which will bring the Ottawa in. Some of the other cool ones that you see, like I said, there's a lot of ones that are specific to, okay, so the Sac and the Fox, they get a bonus this turn. The Sioux get a bonus this turn. The Winnebago get a bonus this turn. The Freedmen get a bonus this turn. Swivel guns get a bonus. The Tower, I'm trying to find. So request to Sally, right? One of the things that the Spanish infantry were trying to do basically the whole time was get outside the walls and save their, farms and families and livestock and stuff. So, roll 1d6 on roll 1 to 3, Spanish player must move 1 Spanish unit out of St. Louis. So again, that's kind of, you obviously can't always do what you want, right? Because you only have a certain amount of movement actions, a certain amount of attack actions. But also then sometimes you have to go after stuff. So right here, prisoners take priority. British player must move all moving units onto as many fleeing citizen hexes as possible or next to them if their occupation cannot be accomplished. So stuff like that, it adds flavor to the game. It adds a little bit of variety to the game so that a replay of it isn't just going to be the same thing every time, because the order that your cards come up in, when they come up, what you're doing when they pop up, it restricts not only what you can do, but then also kind of what you have to do, which makes this pretty stinking fun.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that's pretty good review for a small footprint of a game. So,
yeah. And for $35, it was one of those. Absolutely.
Right. But you picked this up, you said in museum, right?
I did. Right. So they're sold if you're in the St. Louis area, you're passing through St. Louis. The Heritage Museum in St. Peter's, immediately over the Missouri River into St. Charles, has, I think, just this game and Attack on Cahokia. But you can buy them there. You can order them online.
All right, well, hold on. Let's do a little flippy here. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me do this and do this.
Oh, are you pulling up their website?
Yeah, I've got it up right now. Oop.
Whoa! Inception, dude.
Oh, man, I can't do that stuff. I forgot. I can't do this stuff on
StreamYard. Don't close StreamYard, homie.
No, not when I've got not when I've got only one monitor on this back system back here.
It's all right here. You can pop
forget that anyhow.
Yes. My point is it's a cool little game. I really like it. We're staring at your hand now, Jeffrey.
There we go. So yeah, it's the Historical Game Company, and if you go to their page, they have a games link, and then they also have at the bottom of that link there's a button that says more games, and they've got they got like 5 pages of games, and they link some of their games linked to Blue Panther. And you go there, and there's another whole list of games there too. Now, so Blue Panther was the company that made a move a while back. I think they moved into Tennessee, and they're pretty good about getting stuff out. They were the company, and I've got one right here. When I bought these, huzzah, it smells like they were made with gasoline when you open the box. Apparently, from what I understand, they have fixed that now. All the components are great. The only thing I don't like about Blue Panther printing is their counters. I do not like the counters because they're thick. They side nub them, and unless you're going to do like I do and take a razor and cut those side nubs off, and as McMurray was saying earlier, you're not going to use, for those of us that like the metal organ lamination counter clippers, you can't. They won't go in there. So,
which I really like these counter clippers, but yeah, they're slightly too shallow here in the cut, which again is frustrating, but it's not a big deal. I'm used to I'm about to say, it didn't even occur to me, the side nubbing thing. So I'm used to all these old games that I play, and a bunch of them are done like that too, which is frustrating. But honestly, the thickness of them isn't bad for playing. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, you're right. I just wish they would side nub them. That's
true. But again, every good thing has its price. So good for playing, but I got to get a new clipper. Because if I play another game unclipped, Jeff's going to make fun of me. But yeah, so fun, super fun little game. Big fan. Going to wind up grabbing a bunch more, at least a few more. Cause he's got, oh Jesus. Battle for Baton Rouge. I'm trying to think of these off the top of my head. Probably going to grab that one. I think there's one for Pensacola. Obviously, like I said, Attack on Cahokia, I'm going to grab locally here. So yeah, just by all means, they're a small game. It's a small game company. The production value's awesome.
Well, they sell a Civil War series too through the Blue Panther one. That's about the size of that stuff you're playing right there. So.
Okay, dude, if he did this kind of stuff in Civil War in Missouri, this is like the perfect size for it.
Right. He's got about 5 or 6 on there that are made. I can't think of what his name is, but yeah, William. Yeah. So there. Yeah. So I don't own any Hollenspiel or White Dog games that I know of. Chuck, I know you own a couple of White Dog games, but the only ones I owned that, like I said, were printed by Blue Panther that I know were those 2 Huzzah games, which I really like them. But the counters I didn't like because those are White Dog games. Something about the counter. They look good when you sit down and trying to get them clipped the way I like to clip stuff. I just finished this evening clipping SPIs. I'd already done my War in the West, and I finished clipping War in the East tonight, finally. So, there's 4 counter trays worth of stuff. And I don't mean SPI counter trays. I mean my plastic Walmart ones filled to the brim.
Jesus, that'll happen.
About 4,000 some counters in there. That's a good deal, Murray. That's a good looking game box. I never knew anything about that. No, but of course I got you around, so if I want to know something about that stuff, I can just ask you.
Like I said, man, it's a small. Grab a. I mean, my advice to you would be get on there if you see a game that looks cool, like it's got a subject matter that interests you, like, oh man, that's close to my hometown, or oh man, I like Pensacola, Florida. Grab it, play it. I had a blast with this. This is a game that's simple enough and visually appealing enough without being intimidating that you could pull it out and honestly probably play it with somebody who might not super duper be into wargaming. Or if you're already into hex and counter, gaming, it's just super fun to play. I just finished up the whole, the monster that is It Never Snows. And this was a nice little pop. Play it for an evening, couple evenings. Couldn't ask for anything better. So there it is.
Wait till you drag Todd into this and get him to play this one with you, because it sounds like y'all could whoop this thing pretty quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With 2 brains working, so you're thinking about what you're going to do while your opponent's playing. I'm pretty sure the play time is listed at 90 minutes. I'm pretty sure Todd and I could probably knock this out in about an hour. Assuming he didn't beat me faster than that.
Hiss, was Kikianga from there? Is it from the same company or?
I think Blue Panther publishes stuff from a bajillion different places, don't they?
Well, yeah, they have 2 or 3 companies, but they also have games listed on their site, so they're not just a. Well, I mean, they print them, for multiple companies. Like I said, White Dog Games and Hollandspiel, and Hollandspiel's they make some pretty good games too. So there you go. Jeff Davis is great. It's States of Siege ACW. So yeah, McMurray, you're gonna have to go there and look through some of those games between them and Blue Panther, because I got a feeling there might be quite a few there that you're gonna like. So
well, I'm gonna wind up with a bunch more of these. So yeah, look forward to Attack on Cahokia and some others from these guys. And yeah, I'm happy. It's nice to be able to just have a manageable game, sit down, play, rock out, enjoy. And it's simple and quick playing enough that if I've got a free evening and I don't feel like setting up something big, not even a monster, but just setting up a full board game, this is about to be a go-to. I want to just play Battle of St. Louis. Because I can walk over, grab it, and a couple hours later, I'm done. I've had a good time. There we go.
Nice. All right. So there you go. There's McMurray's unboxing and review of a small footprint game that sounds like it's interesting to play. And I think we're going to kill that right here, because God, I want to get over here and either play Agincourt or Antietam. So I'm done messing.
Amen, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for popping over and saying hey and checking this out. And make sure you give it a thumbs up. And most of y'all here, you're subscribed. If you're not, or you know somebody that wants to see some good game reviews or some ARs or maybe even some instructional, hey, get them over here. Get them to Hex, get them over to Wardrobe Plays World War II, get them over to Mini Warm-Up, get them over to Not Jay's Chronicles or Not Jay's Tabletop Game, and get them subscribed. Let's build this thing. All right, talk to y'all later. Peace.
See you guys.